to all Shepherd's Rod believers, and most especially to our beloved brothers and sisters in the United States of America. Special greetings to our brethren in Colorado, our brethren in Kansas, in Georgia, in Texas, Missouri, and Chicago, Illinois, and Fiji Island, Mexico, Spain, Africa, Kenya, Zambia, Pakistan, to the United Kingdom, and also our brethren in Australia, and to the rest of the 144,000 living saints scattered abroad. Greetings. May the good Lord bless you, brothers and sisters. This message is especially dedicated to all the 144,000 living saints. And this is our episode number 12, our special episode on the subject, the beast and its image. Brethren, concerning the third angel's message, there are two main subjects. First, pointing to the mark of the beast, by which such occurrence will take place on this earth, and more directly addressed to the symbolical earth. So I would like to read volume 6, page 17. It says, "The light we have received upon the third angel's message is the true light." So, the only true light is the light that is constitute as a part of the third angel's message. And it says, the mark of the beast is exactly what it has been proclaimed to be. And in the great controversy, 435, saying, those who had accepted the light concerning the mediation of Christ and the perpetuity of the law of God found that these were the truths presented in Revelation 14. The messages of this chapter constitute a threefold warning, which is to prepare the inhabitants of the earth for the Lord's second coming. And this second coming is first directly applied to the coming of Christ in the heavenly sanctuary, His second coming in the most holy place, which is called the midnight cry. Christ's coming represented by the bridegroom to the most holy place, 2SR 181. The coming of the bridegroom is Christ's coming to the most holy place in the heavenly sanctuary. So, that two passages in volume 6, page 17, and Great Controversy 435, plainly telling us that the two main subjects pertaining the message of the third angel is concerning the mark of the beast and Christ's mediatorial work in the heavenly sanctuary. We repeated several times, brothers and sisters, as the Bible made it so plain in Revelation 13 on verse 8, saying, "And all that dwell upon the earth shall worship Him." We know that the pronoun Him is first addressed to the leopard-like beast. But according to Revelation 13 verse 4, it says, "And they worship the dragon, which gave power unto the beast." The same with the statement in answerer number 2 on page 17, saying, "Conclusively, therefore, the kingdom church," so it says, the kingdom church must be set up before the devil turns upon the remnant. That statement, before the devil turns upon the remnant, that is pointing to the implementation of the Blue Sunday law. And we know the remnant mentioned here is pointing to the constituent of the great multitude. So the kingdom church must be set up before the blowing of the four winds. Now, I would like to read again. It says, "Conclusively, therefore, the kingdom church must be set up before the devil turns upon the remnant, those who are left behind and who are then being gathered, and against whom he wars for refusing to worship him in the person of the beast and his image." Revelation 13:15. So the statement to worship him in the person of the beast and his image, the beast and his image is pointing to the system by which if you will be a part of that system, then you worship the dragon. And it is called demon worship. according to the Spirit of Prophecy, right? Volume 6, page 14. And also 1SR 214. Now, I would like to go back again to Revelation 13 verse 8. And all that dwell upon the earth, the shepherd's rod emphasizes that the word all, nothing is to be excluded. And since we are talking about Revelation 13, the sea and the earth mentioned here are symbolical, not literal earth. So it says here, and all that dwell upon the earth. So pointing to the 50 states of the United States of America, all of them, who are they that will be involved in such wholesale deception, demon worship? And all that dwell upon the earth shall worship him, whose names are not written in the book of life of the Lamb, slain from the foundation of the world. Now, we explained several times that Revelation 13 verse 8 must be fulfilled after the cleansing of the heavenly sanctuary. After all the names of the wicked will be completely blotted out in the Lamb's book of life. Of course, in the congregation among the living. Because that is the final cleansing, the congregation among the living. And after that final day of atonement, all whose names we are talking only within the United States of America, all whose names by which cannot be found written in the Lamb's book of life, brothers and sisters, shall worship the demon worship. Now, I would like to read 2SR 2SR page 116. It says, the names of some who once appeared in it were blotted out, while the names of others were never entered between its pages. 2SR 116. So that reading is not difficult to understand that there are two classes of people by which they completely failed to obtain salvation. First, those people whose names had been entered, had been inscribed, had been written in the Lamb's book of life, but on that final day of atonement, their names had been blotted out. But some, their names never been inscribed into that book. So, the term blotted out cannot be applied unto them. Now, brothers and sisters, what we are talking about is only pointing to the living saints and the living wicked. Now, hoping that this study would help each one of us individually, those who are honest and sincere, to understand completely the plan of redemption. Now, of course, the word final, that is the last. Now, I would like to read track number 15. On page 28 and page 29, it says, in the typical atonement, everyone's destiny among the professed people of God was forever fixed. Who will be forever fixed on that day of atonement? Only among the professed people of God or the church. Those who complied with the demands of the law were left to live, and those who did not were cut off from among the people. Thus, it must also be in the antitypical atonement. In page 29, it says, so, in the great day of final atonement and investigative judgment, the judgment of the first two sittings, the time to separate the tares from the wheat, the bad fish from the good, from among both the dead and the living. Now, October 22, I would like to just summarize. October 22, 1844, it is not the final day of atonement, but rather it is the commencement, or sometimes called by the shepherd's rod in 2SR 164, the beginning, not the final. So, I would like to quote 2SR 164 saying, beginning. Although it is a lot of study, need ample time, but the time is running out, became shorter and shorter. And that is why I remember that statement in Advent Review, that bold letter, saying, nick of time, in the very nick of time. The time is very short. It says that this truth came in the nick of time. Go ye out to meet him. That is midnight cry, pointing to the blotting out of names. Go ye out to meet him and rejoice that this truth came in the nick of time to pass it on to others. Nick of time. In the great controversy, I would like to borrow that statement saying, emergency, where the Spiel prophecy says that this message is emergency, where the Spiel prophecy says that this message is proclaimed in an emergency. Great controversy, 609 and 610. So it says here, brothers and sisters, that there is a special truth. Where is the statement begin? So the Lord gives a special truth for the people in an emergency. So God gave this special truth. For me, it is really a very special truth. Having given the privilege, as stated in 4 BC 11:39, they are privileged. The word privilege, brothers and sisters, that is an special. It says, they are privileged to say by faith the work that is going forward in the heavenly sanctuary. So they have been given the privilege to see by faith the work that is going forward in the heavenly sanctuary. And this statement on the great controversy, 490, saying, all who would have their names retained in the book of life should now, in the few remaining days, this statement is even a reality. This very year, the days remain very few. All who would have their names retained in the book of life should now, in the few remaining days of their probation, afflict their souls before God by sorrow for sin and true repentance. There must be deep, faithful searching of heart. The light, frivolous spirit indulged by so many professed Christians must be put away. There is earnest warfare before all who subdue the evil tendencies that strive for the mastery. The work of preparation is an individual work. We are not saved in groups. The Great Controversy, page 490. Few remaining days. We will no longer be counting years, but rather days, and that days that remain for the coming day of atonement, for that final day of atonement, blotting out of names, is very few. Now, let us go back again to our reading, brothers and sisters. To repeat again, the occurrence in heaven and the occurrence in earth is the particular object in view in the message of the third angel. That occurrences in reality is applied only in the judgment that pertains to the living. Because in the judgment concerning the dead, only the heavenly sanctuary are thus affected. Now, brothers and sisters, this statement is even more have a deep compact in our very lives at this very time. Saying in 1 TG 12:26 that our names be found in that book, in the Lamb's book of life, should now be the most absorbing concern of each of us. The most absorbing concern of each of us. It's very sad, brothers and sisters, the condition among the media today. Because instead to investigate the message, instead to study it carefully, weighing the matters, they immediately speak evil against it. But still, we will continually pray, hoping that our Almighty God will hear our prayers. That if possible, all Shepherd's Rod believers, their names will be retained in the Lamb's Book of Life. That if possible, there is not one Shepherd's Rod believer by which their names will be blotted out. That would be our prayers. Because the only thing that we could do is to share the message, to proclaim the message, and then pray. positively pray, even to them who continually speaking evil against us. We will continually pray to all our brethren. Now, let us now study closely what the Golden Bowl thus teaches. Now, I would like to read Testimonies for the Church, Volume 5, 475. We can quote the entire paragraph, although I will not read all to minimize time. But to all who are viewing this program, you can read the entire paragraph. It says, 475 in Volume 5. As the people of God afflict their souls before Him, pleading for purity of heart, the command is given, take away the filthy garments from them, and the encouraging words are spoken. Behold, I have caused thine iniquity to pass from thee, and I will clothe thee with change of raiment. The spotless robe of Christ's righteousness is placed upon the tried, tempted, yet faithful children of God. The despised remnant are clothed in glorious apparel, never more to be defiled by the corruptions of the world. Their names are retained in the Lamb's book of life. What is the declaration given by the voice of inspiration? That these people, while the day of atonement are approaching, they afflict their souls. That day of atonement is not blotting out of sins, but blotting out of names. Because the voice of inspiration says, their names are retained in the Lamb's book of life, enrolled among the faithful of all ages. And the spotless robe of Christ's righteousness, it is called the imputed righteousness. What is the imputed righteousness? That through the righteousness of Jesus Christ, the melodious voice of Jesus Christ will be heard in the heavenly sanctuary on that day of atonement, saying, sons, your sins are pardoned and forgiven. Although at that time our sins are not yet blotted out, but the assurance are already pronounced by Jesus Christ that all our sins are pardoned and subject to be blotted out. How do I know that it is not blotting out of sins? Because the statement says, their names are retained in the Lamb's book of life. And if you will continue reading, it says, and the remnant are not only pardoned and accepted, but honored. A fair meter is set upon their heads. They are to be as kings and priests unto God. While Satan was urging his accusation and seeking to destroy this company, holy angels unseen were passing to and fro, placing upon them the seal of the living God. The vision of the prophet is not difficult to understand. That after their names had been retained in the Lamb's book of life, at that time, they were not as yet been sealed, according to that vision. And in perfect harmony with the vision in early writings 38, the two paragraphs. Let us post the two paragraphs. You can read that two paragraphs, brothers and sisters, again and again. The thought will forever remain. That at the time when Jesus called them the remnant, the same with volume 5, 475. Why is it that in volume 5, 475, it says, the remnant are pardoned and accepted because their names retained in the Lamb's book of life. And in the vision of Sister White in early writings, page 38, Jesus Christ is pleading with God the Father to hold the four winds. What is the four winds? The mark of the beast. Why is it that Jesus Christ called the remnant in spite of the fact that they were not yet sealed? Because pointing to the occurrence in the heavenly sanctuary as stated in 1 SR 102, that the definition of remnant, it says, the definition of remnant is that which is left after the separation, removal. So after the removal of all the names of the wicked among the congregation of the living, the only names that will be left is the 144,000 living saints by which the shepherd's rod described them as the wise virgins. So the statement in 7 BC, 969, strive with all your power that God's given us to be among the 144,000 living saints. In reality, we need now to strive with all the power that God has given us so that our names will be left written in the Lamb's Book of Life. Because the only names that have been left written in the Lamb's Book of Life are the 144,000. Now, I would like to read 1 TG number 11 on page 11. It says, so only those who survive the judgment for the living. What judgment? The judgment for the living in the house of God. 1 Peter 4:17, those whose names are not blotted out from the book. Revelation 3 verse 5, those whose names are not blotted out from the book will comprise the church. What church? The triumphant church. I remember that statement on that Advent Review bold letter saying, to belong to the 144,000, you must join the triumphant church. There is no other triumphant church ever recorded in the Bible, is per prophecy and the Shepherd's Rod publication, except the 144,000 living saints. To belong to the 144,000, we must join the church triumphant. In what way that you could join the church triumphant? Of course, I would like to read the character and the attitude of those people to be among that church triumphant. 1 TG 51, page 10 and page 11. Here we see that the church militant is in reality the church which is militant against advancing truth. If you are militant against advancing truth, then you are among the church militant, and that the church triumphant is the church which marches on with the progress of truth. In page 11, it says, we now see as plainly as truth can make it, that throughout the ages, the church triumphant was and still is made up of the church members who unceasingly keep climbing the ladder of truth all along to this day. And the Shepherd's Rod declared clearly in 1 TG 51, page 5 and 6, saying, if the church is not commensurably growing and expanding, then how can she be a living church? And how can she keep up with the signs of the times and with the progress in the sanctuary above? Of all the damaging darkness that Satan could keep God's people in total ignorance, according to the Shepherd's Rod in White House Recruiter 31 and 32, is to have no understanding at all what is going on in the heavenly sanctuary. It says here in White House Recruiter, page 31 and 32, let us not, however, forget that there is an enemy who is determined to keep God's people in darkness, in ignorance of timely truth. And what more damaging darkness could he seek to keep them in than in ignorance of that which God would have them to know while their judgment is pending, while they are being weighed in the balances of the sanctuary? None, absolutely none. The Gideon has no knowledge that we are now being weighed in the balances in the heavenly sanctuary. And that is a very damaging darkness. Because according to track number 3, page 54, for when a person's judgment is pending, now our cases is now being weighed in the heavenly sanctuary. And it says, and he is unaware of the fact, he will be unprepared and unable to stand when his case is investigated. So the statement, brothers and sisters, in 2 TG number 12, page 30,
It says here, whereas the last two seals, what is the last two seals? The sixth seal and the seventh seal. What is the sixth seal? The last seal concerning the dead. Who are they? The altar, recorded in Revelation 11, verse 1 and 2. Tract number 5, page 110. Whereas the last two seals, which contain the things that pertain to the judgment of the living. What is the last two seals? Judgment of the living. Why is it that the sixth seal is called judgment of the living? Is it contradictory to the statement in 2SR 202 saying that the first six seals is concerned the dead? Let's read. Evidently, the first six seals complete the cases of those who were dead preceding the judgment. And while it is in session, but the seventh sealing period being the last must concern the living. There is only one seal that pertains to the living. The first six seals is pertaining to all of them who will be resurrected. But why is it that in 2 TG 1230 it says the last two seals is concerned the judgment of the living? Is it contradictory? No, in perfect harmony. Because the last constituent of the sixth seal, they are being judged while living. And that is the reason that it is called judgment of the living. But their cases are being judged in the heavenly sanctuary while living and then destined to die. Now, I would like to read to you tract number 3 on page 20. Tract number 3 on page 20. So let us read the statement. Plainly, therefore, the judgment is to begin and the sanctuary to be cleansed not before, but after the fulfillment of the period for those appointed to die. What is the judgment? Day of Atonement. Our subject is concerning the final Day of Atonement. So B.T. Hotep is plainly telling in tract number 3, page 20, that after the last and the final Day of Atonement that pertains to the dead, those who are judged while living and appointed to die, because you cannot use the term appointed to die if they were already dead. And this is the statement given in 2SR 217. It says, they who are to be sealed at that time were seen by John as a great multitude with palms in their hands. See Revelation 7 verse 9. Hence the scroll has made a turn and the sealing for those who shall be judged while living has begun. Now, the question is that, when would that be? Those who will be judged while living, brothers and sisters, begun according to the voice of inspiration. Now, brothers and sisters, those passages that I have read is also pointing to the statement in 2SR 164, saying, unless the close of the judgment for the dead and the commencement for the living be made known to us, we would have no present truth while the judgment for the living is in session. What will happen if the judgment for the living is in session and those people by which they need to know that their cases are on trial? Then such judgment is illegal, brothers and sisters, without any information. But the absolute fact is that the Heavenly Father, according to an Adventist Activities Research Committee on page 15, how shall He judge without summons? God, the all-justice God, He will never begin the proceedings to the living without heavenly summons. And here in 2SR 164, he who fails to respond to the heavenly summons, he who fails to respond to the heavenly summons will be left without the seal or covering of God, and therefore must be cut off from among His people as prefigured by the services in the typical Day of Atonement. On the earthly tribunal, if the presiding judge issued summons and then the summoner served the summons, to such individual someone, and that individual someone rejected the summons, he will be charged contempt of the court. But in the heavenly sanctuary, it says, he who fails to respond to the heavenly summons will be left without the seal of the living God or covering of God. Therefore, their names will be blotted out on this coming final day of atonement. The shepherd's rod is very plain. In 2TG number 12, on page 29, it says, the revelation, moreover, in the following verses, again and again, endeavors to make us see that the event there portrayed is the judgment in session. What judgment? Directly applied to the judgment for the living. Then it says, John truly paid it as a prophecy, but when it actually takes place, then God's agency on earth, the spirit of prophecy in the church, is to proclaim that the event has actually taken place. Brothers and sisters, if you will read 2SR 164, sincerely and honestly, you can discern that the knowledge when the judgment for the dead will close and the commencement of the judgment for the living constitute the present truth under the seventh seal. Remember, in 1SR 28, the saints of God, according to these scriptures, the saints of God in all ages are sealed with present truth. And whatever that present truth is, that is the seal. The present truth under the seventh seal was not bestowed by God to Beti-Hotep, because Beti-Hotep is not a part of the living saints. He himself testified that he has no knowledge when the judgment for the dead will close and the commencement for the living. Either exact or approximate, Beti-Hotep has no knowledge. Answerer number 1 on page 94. In the statement in question, the rod has no reference to the investigative judgment. The message sets no date, need either exact or approximate. For the closing of the judgment of the dead and for the beginning of the judgment of the living, the time of the cessation of the one event and the beginning of the other is not to be known until the one is past and the other begun. That paragraph is grossly misinterpreted by many Davidians, saying that the message sets no date, either exact or approximate. What message? The message that was proclaimed by Beti-Hotep. Beti-Hotep has no knowledge concerning when the judgment that pertains to the dead will close and when the judgment that pertains to the living will begins, either exact or approximate. But the statement is very plain. It will be made known when the other is past, when the one is past and the other begun. What if the one is past? That is the judgment that pertains to the dead. It is past and the other begun. It did not say it will be made known when the one is past and the other is past. No. When the judgment of the dead is closed and then the judgment for the living begun. And that is the statement in 2SR 164. But when our high priest shall begin the atonement for the living, there must be a message of present truth. 11 Symbolic Code, number 3, page 5. Present truth comes only from God. So that statement can be easily understood that before Jesus Christ will begin the proceedings that pertains to the living, He must send first the heavenly summons to inform the living that their cases are being weighed in the balances in the heavenly sanctuary. And such information is addressed to the prophetic gift in the church. He will be the one to proclaim that the event has actually taking place. 2TG 12:29. And since the shepherds have declared clearly in General Conference Special, page 39 and 40, saying that the more we consider the subject, the more obvious becomes the truth that the third angel's message in its final phase is the judgment for the living, the harvest. Plainly then, the work of Elijah is to give light on the judgment for the living. who will give light, the judgment for the living. Antitypical Elijah the Tishbite. And the shepherd's rod declared clearly, no one can proclaim the day but Elijah. I would like to read that reading. The General Conference is Special on page 12. All will see that no one but Elijah can proclaim the day. What day? The great and dreadful day of the Lord. General Conference Special, page 19. Jewel's 2 chapters give us a most compact and vivid view of the great and dreadful day of the Lord. From this alone, we can clearly see what it is like. And as Elijah comes just before that day begins, he must necessarily be the one who is to interpret these prophecies of the day and who consequently announces that the day is at hand. What is the great and dreadful day of the Lord? The very first great and dreadful day of the Lord is pointing to the time when all the names of the wicked will be blotted out. It is a dreadful day to all of them whose names will be blotted out. But it is a great day to all of them whose names had been left written in the Lamb's Book of Life. Those whose names had been retained in the Lamb's Book of Life. So the statement in 2 SR 164 saying, unless the close of the judgment for the dead be made known to us, and the commencement for the living be made known to us, we would have no present truth while the judgment for the living is in session. But it could not be. It is impossible that the judgment for the living will begin without sending first the present truth. How could they be sealed without the present truth? It was answered in the upper sentence saying, but when our high priest shall begin the atonement for the living, there must be a message of present truth. There must be. God will send the present truth under the judgment for the living, and the constituent of that present truth is the knowledge when the judgment for the dead close and the commencement of the judgment for the living. Ponder deeply, brothers and sisters. Matthew 24, according to the shepherd's rod, and Matthew 25, no, it is not pointing to the visible coming of Jesus Christ. Here in 2 SR page 184, it says, Matthew 24, verse 36 and 50 are descriptions of the same event. Watch therefore, for ye know neither the day nor the hour wherein the Son of Man cometh. Matthew 25, verse 13. This has reference to the time of the judgment and not of his coming to earth. For the saints shall know the day and the hour of Christ's coming in the clouds to receive the redeemed, as it shall be announced by the Father shortly before his coming. Matthew 24, verse 36 and 50, and Matthew 25, verse 13, it is pointing to the coming of Christ in the most holy place, bringing the names of all those whose names had been retained in the Lamb's Book of Life. What will happen on March 27, 2021, the final day of atonement, which is in Bible calendar, that is October 10, 2022. Jesus Christ will bring all those names that had been left written in the Lamb's Book of Life, and then appear to God the Father, pleading to hold the four winds on earth, as it was shown to the vision of Sister White in early writings, page 38. And that is the fulfillment of the statement in 2 SR 241. It says, therefore the prophecy by Enoch commenced its fulfillment in 1844, at which time the Lord came with the names and records of those who are sleeping in the grave. And when the investigation of the dead is finished, then he comes with the names of the living saints, first with the 144,000, bringing the names of the living saints, those names that had been left written in the Lamb's Book of Life. And that is the statement in 2 SR 184. I would like to read. It says, the virgins were called to meet him, and thus by faith go in with him to appear before the Father, the great judge. Where? the most holy place. The seal is the permit. So let us distinctly separate the sealing in the heavenly sanctuary. The only names that will be left written in the Lamb's Book of Life are those names that have been sealed by God. And our attitude towards present truth is the one that will decide our eternal destiny. Brothers and sisters, this message, brethren, 100% we guarantee to you, it cometh from the Heavenly Father. This is the heavenly summons issued by God the Father to inform all the living that our cases are now being weighed in the balances in the heavenly sanctuary. But sometimes I really imagine, brothers and sisters, that statement in Testimonies for the Church, Volume 3. Let me read to you that statement given in Testimonies for the Church in Volume 3. It says here, Testimonies for the Church, Volume 3, on page 37. I would like to read this reading. It is not the best policy to be so very explicit and say all upon a point that can be said, when a few arguments will cover the ground and be sufficient for all practical purposes to convince or silence opponents. You may remove every prop today and close the mouths of objectors so that they can say nothing, and tomorrow they will go over the same ground again. Thus it will be over and over, because they do not love the light and will not come to the light, lest their darkness and error should be removed from them. And that is really the reality, brothers and sisters. And I would like to read the statement given by the Jean Persrad in 2SR 102 and 103. Confidence in men is Satan's sure trap. We may search as far back as we desire, and it is certain that we shall discover to our surprise and sorrow that the church leadership, it is the leadership, has been so greatly deceived that in its period they failed to recognize the unruling of the scroll. And as the blinded multitude took the side of the corrupted leaders against the revealed truth, they split God's church in numerous sections. Thus, by defeating the foremost, Satan has been able to engage them to labor for him and thereby to overthrow the church as a body. To ascertain the accuracy of the foregoing statement, it would not be necessary to comment on facts beyond the first advent of Christ. Therefore, a brief survey of the Christian era shall be considered here. Satan had thrown the dirt brush over the eyes of the highest human intellect at the close of the Old Testament dispensation. Their spiritual eyes were so skillfully plastered that they could not see a bolt of lightning as bright as the sun in the darkest night. The fulfillment of prophecy, the miracles surrounding the birth of Christ, His spotless character, His unselfish labor, and wonders in every step, touch, look, and act filled the very atmosphere with divine love. Men who were destitute of the sins of sight from their birth felt the healing power of the Infinite One. The blind saw the Lord of glory and praised God. But the religious teachers of Israel were not affected by the power that moved even inanimate objects. The earthquake, the sun veiled its face, the rocks were rent, and the graves were opened. The dead arose, and behold the Son of God. But the proud Pharisees, priests, and rabbis esteemed as never hearing, could neither feel, see, nor hear. There is no wonder greater than the one written by the actions of the blind leaders of that age. John, speaking of the experience, says, "In him was life, and the light was the light of men, and the light shineth in darkness, and the darkness comprehended it not." John chapter 1 verse 4 and 5. Every possible ray of light pointing to the coming of the Lamb of God had been given to the once chosen people, but it profited them not, said Jesus. If therefore the light that is in thee be darkness, how great is that darkness? Would that these experiences could arouse the leaders and the people at this present time from self-confidence and counterfeit security to an earnest search of positive Bible truth? Brothers and sisters, this coming March 27, 2021, which is on Bible calendar, it is October 10, 2022. It is positive Bible truth. God provided us to understand and to know the time. that statement on Words to the Little Flock. Words to the Little Flock on page 4 and 5. Will not the day and hour of Jesus appearing be made known by the voice of the eternal God? That the day and hour will be known by the true children of God. And no others appears plain from the fact that we are exhorted to watch for it. And if we do not watch, Jesus will come on us as a thief, and we shall not know what hour he will come upon us. So that none but those who truly watch and hold fast will know the true time. Here I will introduce a quotation from the true midnight cry. So the time mentioned there is pointing to the midnight cry, the coming of the bridegroom to the most holy place. And that is the statement in 2SR 242. It says, it would have been unreasonable and injustice to the chosen people of God if we should have left them in darkness concerning the time of the most important event of all church history, the coming of Christ. That part of the long prophetic period of the 2,300 days or years of Daniel 8:14. What coming? Brought to view by Daniel 8 verse 14. It says, 2SR 184, the coming of Christ as our high priest to the most holy place for the cleansing of the sanctuary, brought to view in Daniel 8:14. So what is Daniel 8 verse 14? The coming of Christ for the cleansing of the heavenly sanctuary. And the voice of inspiration, it says that it would be unreasonable and injustice to the living saints if God would let them in darkness. Then how could they be able to prepare for that event? Ponder deeply, brothers and sisters. That is very plain. So the cleansing, according to track number 3, page 53, Daniel 8:14. This startling revelation shows conclusively that the cleansing, according to Daniel 8 verse 14, is first of the sanctuary in heaven and second of the sanctuary on earth. The cleansing concerning Daniel 8 verse 14, first pointing to the sanctuary in heaven before the sanctuary on earth. Track number 3, page 53. And that is pointing to the last and final day of atonement. Look at the type. B.T. Hotep says that in the type they were well informed. Then how could it be that in the particular object and view, they will never know? Think it thoroughly. But the Shepherd's Rod does not teach such thing. 2SR 220, it says, thus we conclude that when the seal is open and the judgment for the living begins, we must know it. We need to know it. The same with the statement in answerer number 2. On page 23, I would like to read the statement. And it is concerning Matthew 24:36. We already read. Matthew 24:36 is pointing to the judgment and not Christ's visible coming. 2SR 184. It says, indeed, though the scriptures do say that even the angels know not the hour, yet if they are ever to be ready to start out with the Lord upon His second advent, certainly they must someday beforehand be told of it in order to make ready and to start out. And although no man now knows the day or hour, yet if the Father sees fit to declare it, we cannot but know it. The same with the statement in 11 symbolic code. It says here, 11 symbolic code. Let us read the statement given by the voice of inspiration, saying, if no one is to know the day and the hour, 11 symbolic code number 12, page 7. If no one is to know the day and hour until the Lord comes, then how could the servant be aware of the day and the hour? Do you see that one statement seems to contradict the other? No one knows the hour, the day. Therefore, God's people must be ready for the event to occur at almost any time. And if this servant does not faithfully perform his duties, then when the Lord is about to come, that servant will not be aware of it. Is that not how you understand these two statements? Up to a certain time, God's people do not know the day and the hour. But if they continue to receive meat in due season, a day will come when this servant is going to be made aware of that hour and of that day. And whose servant is that? Antitypical Elijah the Tishbite. He will be the one to proclaim that the judgment for the living is in progress. And while the judgment for the living is in progress, it says, 2SR 219, while the judgment for the living is in progress, every sin must be confessed and put away. He who would neglect this great privilege will find himself involved in everlasting ruin, cut off from among his people. Ignoring this most vital subject would not profit us in the least. 2SR 219. Now, I would like to connect our subject, brothers and sisters, to the expiration of the 5 symbolical months. Because I would like to elaborate as clear as possible the statement in Revelation 13 verse 8. That verse. I would like to re-emphasize again, brothers and sisters. It says, all that dwell upon the earth, whose names are not found written in the Lamb's Book of Life, will worship, or inescapably, they will worship that system represented by the mark of the beast and the image of the beast. Who are they? All of them whose names are not found written in the Lamb's Book of Life. But it is pointing to the symbolical earth, the 50 states in the United States of America. Because the mark of the beast system will commence in the United States of America. And it is a local, religio-political government. Now let us read again the statement in 2SR 151. It says, the two-horned beast is the only one representing a local religio-political government. So, do not forget this reading. The two-horned beast is the only one, meaning there is no other, representing a local religio-political government. So that system, religio-political government, will originate and will commence in the United States of America. Ponder deeply, brothers and sisters. Why is it that in Revelation chapter 7, the very first that had been mentioned is the earth? Hurt not the earth. And also in Revelation chapter 8, verse 13, it says, and I beheld and heard an angel flying through the midst of heaven. There is no other angel that flying in the midst of heaven. Brothers and sisters, the 3 angels' messages in Revelation 14. And say, woo, 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 to the inhabitants of the earth. So, unto whom the message is addressed and directed? To the inhabitants of the earth, by reason of the other voices of the trumpet of the 3 angels which are yet to sound. The pronouncement of woo is addressed to the symbolical earth. And this is the reason that we are proclaiming this message, to let all our brethren be aware of the coming events. But the absolute fact is that there is no other way that you can withstand such deception. Only through the power of the Spirit of Christ. Do not forget that, brethren. Only through the power of the Spirit of Christ. And the only one that will be protected by that power of the Spirit of Christ are only those whose names had been left written in the Lamb's Book of Life. It is a life and death matter, brothers and sisters. But the Bijan in intermedia, in social media, they were making funs. But the time will come that everything ceased to be funny. The same as in the days of Noah. The time will come, brethren. Everything ceased to be funny. Now, let us focus to the symbolical prophecy. The shepherd's rod made it so plain in this reading in 2SR 151 that there is no other, because the statement is the only one. So the statement, the only one, there is no other. Only the two-horned beast is the only one representing a local religio-political government. Now, what symbolization does religio-political government is represented in the Bible? Let us honestly face the situation. I would like to recode again 2SR 288, written words can be misconstrued but symbols cannot, thus making the learned and unlearned to immediately distinguish the difference between truth and error. And in 2SR page 10, that is God's chosen medium to enlighten His people through symbolical prophecy and through typological prophecy. And in 1SR 124, it says, the picture tells the story and symbols do not lie. Now, this is the question. Do you believe what the shepherd's rod teaches? That the shepherd's rod declared, there is no other nation representing a religio-political government except United States of America. The two-horned beast is the only one 2SR 151. The only one representing a local political government. That is a prediction that such political government must and will emanates in the United States of America. There is no other nation by which the political government will be established, will be implemented, except in the United States of America. Now, let me ask you again such simple question. What symbolization does a political government thus represented? Now, let us read the Shepherd's Rod. 2SR page 88 and page 89. The crowns represent civil authority as previously explained. Had they been on the heads like on the dragon of Revelation 12 verse 3, it would denote that the churches are using the civil arm of the state to propagate their dogma as in the days of imperial and papal Rome, represented by the dragon. Now the statement given by the Shepherd's Rod is very plain. There was a political government in the days of pagan Rome. There was a political government in the days of papal Rome. But where is the representation? No, it cannot be found on the nondescript beast, but found on the red dragon, because the crowns appear on the 7 heads of the red dragon. Here's another statement in 2SR 113. It says, it has been previously explained. So, it was explained the second time. It has been previously explained that when the crowns appear on the heads, it denotes a political system. What nation by which such system, political government? Only the 2-horned beast. Only in the United States of America. In what representation that the symbolization of a religious political government had been represented? If the crowns appear on the heads. It says, it has been previously explained that when the crowns appear on the heads, it denotes a political system. Now the question, what symbolization, my dear brothers and sisters, does the crowns appears on the heads? Only on the red dragon. Now I would like to read 2SR page 69. The dragon with his 7 heads and 10 horns with the crowns on the heads appear at the birth of Christ as previously explained and occupies the period parallel with the nondescript beast. The heads are represented by the biblical number 7, meaning completeness, and embrace every religious system in the days of Christ. The heads are represented by the biblical number 7, meaning completeness, and embrace every religious system in the days of Christ. Where? In Palestine. But that is the type. Brothers and sisters, we are looking the perfect fulfillment of Revelation chapter 12. Because Revelation chapter 12, brothers and sisters, is a part of the 7th seal. 2TG 1230, the 7th seal contains 15 chapters long. Track 15, page 10. The 7th seal commences on chapter 8. So chapter 12 is a part of the 7th seal. The direct application of Revelation chapter 12 is on the 7th seal. And the great controversy 438, it says here, let us read the statement. A correct interpretation of the symbols employed is necessary to an understanding of this message. What message? The message of the third angel. The Great Controversy 438. A correct interpretation of the symbols employed is necessary to an understanding of this message. What is represented by the beast, the image, the mark, the line of prophecy in which these symbols are found begins with Revelation chapter 12. Where is the symbolization of the message of the third angel? Begins on Revelation chapter 12. And here in 2SR page 76, it says, John's vision in the 12th chapter of Revelation deals with 2 main subjects, namely, the woman clothed with the sun and the red dragon. The woman clothed with the sun and the red dragon. I would like to read 2SR. Let's read the statement in 2SR. It says, concerning the red dragon. To SR 119. The red dragon in Revelation chapter 12 verse 3 cannot be numbered with the numerous beasts, for he is not a symbol of a particular nation or government. He represents Satan and his schemes at certain times, for he is called the devil and Satan. Why is it that the red dragon cannot be applied only to one particular nation? Because the red dragon on the first stage represents pagan Rome. Brothers and sisters, the second pointing to the papacy during the Dark Ages. But the last period represented by the red dragon is in the United States of America. Whether you believe it or not, that is the prophecy. I would like to read to us 100, let's read the statement, 109. The following verses discloses the fact that the old dragon shall exercise his power to deceive as many as possible. But what is the quotation? Revelation 13:13 to 14. That is pointing to the two-horned beast. The old dragon exercised his power. Now, here in 2SR, I would like to read the statement saying, 2SR 112. His scarlet color denotes curse, as it does on the dragon, devil. So, the word red and scarlet is the same. His scarlet color denotes curse, as it does on the dragon, devil, in Revelation 12:3. And the words go into perdition, Revelation 17 verse 11, reveal that he is to bring this world to an end by a curse, future misery, or eternal death. Now, since we have studied different episodes, I would like to enumerate one by one first those passages that made clear. I would like to repeat again. The great controversy 443. It is the two-horn that made the image of the beast. Not only the image of the beast, as well as the image to the beast. Now, if I will ask question, what made the two-horned beast that he could form that image of the beast without any hindrance? Because it is already predicted in the Bible. When the two-horned beast made an image of the beast, successfully, he had been able to make the image of the beast without any hindrance. What is the image of the beast? Religio-political government. Now, the same with the question in 2SR. 2SR page 56. Attempts to establish ecclesiastical governments. The question may arise, what hindered Satan from establishing the ecclesiastical monarchy before the closing period of the Old Testament? When does the closing period of the Old Testament begins? 27 BC. That is the closing period. So the question, what hindered Satan? To minimize time, just read 2SR 61 to page 63. The first attempt of the devil is in the Babylonian Empire, but he failed because Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego were there. By which at that time, the devil thought that it is Daniel can hinder such scheme. So through intrigue, Daniel was sent to a very far country. But he was mistaken. Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego were there. But what happened after Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego died? The devil thought that the hindrance disappeared. So he introduced again during the Medo-Persian Empire, according to the shepherd's rod. But still he failed because Daniel was still there. Look at the antitype, because that is vineyard, ancient Palestine, and we have modern vineyard, United States of America. Such ecclesiastical monarchical government was introduced in 1888, but the devil failed. It is called the Sunday Blue Law, according to the historical event recorded in the inspired records. Because antitypical Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego were there. That is Alonzo Jones, Wagoner, and Sister White. In 1948, brothers and sisters, the devil tries to establish that ecclesiastical monarchical government in the United States of America, but he failed because P.T. Hotep, antitypical Daniel, was still there. So what is the image of the beast? Scarlet colored. What is the symbolization of the scarlet colored beast? 7 heads unharmed. 2SR 112. 7 heads not wounded. 2TG 1819. What does it mean? What will wound the head? 2SR 97. By the divinely called movement, aided with the writings of this prophecy, the head will be wounded, brothers and sisters. Now, it's easy to understand. What is the statement in 2SR 112? What is the principal reasons, brothers and sisters, why God presented the scarlet-colored beast? To reveal the true condition of the churches in the United States of America. What is the true condition of the churches in the United States of America? The representation of the scarlet-colored beast. The image of the beast. What is the image of the beast? 4 winds. It will be established before the sealing of the 144,000. And that is the reason why God commanded to hold the 4 winds, which is the image of the beast, represented by the scarlet-colored beast. According to track number 8, page 22. The holding of the 4 winds is holding the image activity. So the statement not to blow, meaning not to be implemented. But the fact is that, according to track number 3, 3rd edition, page 115, at the commencement of the judgment of the living, the image of the beast is fully made up. What is the commencement of the judgment of the living? 2SR 171, the sealing of the 144,000 is at the beginning of the judgment of the living, plainly indicating that the image of the beast, the scarlet-colored beast, already in existence in the United States of America, even before the sealing of the 144,000. And that is the reason that God commanded the angel to hold the 4 winds, because the 144,000 were not yet sealed. So what does it mean? What hindered the devil by which he failed to establish image of the beast? First, Sister White, Alonzo Jones, and Wagoner. Second, P.T. Hotep. Type and antitype cannot be mistaken. There are only 2 periods of time recorded in the Bible as the type that the devil failed: in the days of King Nebuchadnezzar and in the days of Medo-Persia. But in the 3rd time, after Malachi died, the Roman monarchy had been established in the throne, because the transgressors come to the full. 2SR 126 and 127. So that event pointing to the antitype that after B.T. Hotep died, there is no more hindrance. As a matter of fact, in October 1965, the Pope entered into the United States of America. The first time that the Pope had been able to enter to the United States of America. But the fact is that, even in the days of B.T. Hotep, the Vatican always planned to enter United States of America, but they could not do it because there is a supernatural power. While the divinely called movement and the divinely inspired servant of God are still in the United States of America, there will be no image of the beast. Do you believe that at the commencement of the sealing of the 144,000, the winds are already in existence? What is the representation of the 4 winds? That is the mark of the beast system. That is the image of the beast, represented by the scarlet-colored beast. Who made the image of the beast? The two-horned beast. Now, I would like to show to you, brothers and sisters, but I would like to read first the statement in 2SR 200, the statement given by the Voice of Inspiration. 2SR 253. It says here, "It is certain that nothing could fit so perfectly by accident. But think of such marvelous foresight in devising a wonder of this kind, which could reveal by a living picture the future for thousands of years. Are not such evidences as this a token of love divine toward fallen beings? Gratitude swells from our hearts. Words fail us. We can only exclaim with the psalmist, 'Thy word is a lamp unto my feet, and a light unto my path. I have sworn, and I will perform it, that I will keep thy righteous judgments.'" Psalms 119, 105, 106. And in 1SR 233 and 234 it says, "Woe to him who may think all these wonderful designs in the beauty of perfection are just a chance or an accident. Such a one is denying the master mechanic of all creation. He is paying homage to evolution, chance." And I would like to quote the statement in 1SR 232. It says, "By all Bible students, numbers 3 and 7 are accepted to be the biblical numbers to ascertain scriptural truths." So there are 2 numbers, 3 and 7. Let us focus first to 3. 3 infallible proofs by which I do fully believe that it is not an accident. Now, the only verse in Daniel 11 that is still unfulfilled is Daniel 11, verse 45. And then, of course, the next chapter is Daniel chapter 12. Now, I would like to show to you, brothers and sisters, Daniel 11 itself, these 2, one is pointing to one beast. We already read that statement in 2SR 151. The last power to inherit the king of the north is the two-horned beast. Verse 45, in reality, is a prediction to the last two presidents in the United States of America. The 45th president and the 46th president. What is number 5? Count the number of the beast. First, pointing to the number of president. But let us read first, Revelation 13. Revelation 13, verse 18. Here is wisdom, but this wisdom must be heavenly wisdom. Let him that hath understanding count the number of the beast, for it is the number of a man, and his number is 636. Now, here we will show to you, brothers and sisters, and it's up to you if you think that this is just an accident. What is number 5? As I've said, it points out to the last two presidents, point to their last name, or surname, or family name. Trump. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 letters. The 46th president, Biden. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 letters. How about number 6? That is their first name. Donald. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Joseph. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So, pointing to the last two presidents of the United States of America, first name, 6. First name. Last name, 5. 5 letters. 5 letters. Now, brothers and sisters, what is number 4? That is pointing to the terms of the president in the United States of America. Only 4 years. Indicating that Donald Trump will reign only as president for 4 years. The same with Joe Biden, because this is the last presidential election of the United States of America. But he shall come to his end before the 4 years term will be finished, because that is the prediction. He will come to his end, and we will study that subject in connection to the Assyrian Confederacy. But this is revealed to the last president, the only president by which the vice president is a woman. That is Kamala Harris Imhoff. Now, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Would you think it is just an accident or a mere happenstance? Now, here's another. What is the abomination? Let us read. Just pause, according to 2SR. The abomination is Sunday. Now, we are talking about Matthew 24, verse 15. Now, in the Bible, brothers and sisters, declared clearly, I would like to read in book of Mark, Mark 13, verse 14. But when ye shall see the abomination of desolation, spoken of by Daniel the prophet, standing where it ought not, let him that readeth understand. What is the abomination? Sunday. In the Great Controversy, on page 26, let us read the statement. When ye therefore shall see the abomination of desolation spoken of by Daniel the prophet stand in the holy place, whoso readeth, let him understand. Then let them which be in Judea flee into the mountains. Matthew 24, verse 15 and 16. Then the quotation is Luke 21, verse 20 and 21. When the idolatrous standards of the Roman should be set up in the holy ground. Now, I would like to focus, brothers and sisters, in the perfect fulfillment of the prophecy. There is no other holy ground in the judgment that pertains to the living. It is the Bible. What is the abomination? Sunday. So when the Sunday observance is set up in the Bible, brothers and sisters, the desolation that make it desolate, the end of all things is about finish. And the voice of inspiration is plainly telling, brothers and sisters, that the abomination will be set up in the holy place. Matthew 24, verse 15 and 16. Now, we would like to show to you that there are 6 Bible translations that Revelation 1, verse 10, they say that is Sunday. In the dark ages, the exceeding great horn, they changed the time and the laws of God. But only in the church, instead to have the rest day of Saturday, they substituted it Sunday. But it is even worse in the judgment that pertains to the living. But because it is the Bible itself that had been changed. Let us read first, reflecting Christ. Sister White says that the Lord's Day on Revelation 1 verse 10 is the Sabbath. The 4th commandment in Exodus chapter 20. It says, reflecting Christ. Reflecting Christ, page 95, paragraph 2. You can read the entire paragraph page because it points out to the Saturday. The Lord's Day mentioned by John was the Sabbath. So the day on which Jehovah rested after the great work of creation, and which he blessed and sanctified because he had rested upon it. The Sabbath was as sacredly observed by John upon the Isle of Patmos as when he was among the people preaching upon that day. By the barren rocks surrounding him, John was reminded of rocky Horeb and how, when God spoke his law to the people, there he said, remember the Sabbath day to keep it holy. But look at what happened, brothers and sisters, to the American Bible Society. Let us now read one by one. Different translation. Wycliffe Bible. I was in the Spirit in the Lord's day or on Sunday. Now, here's another translation. It says, it was in the Spirit of the Lord's day, the first day of the week. Then, another translation, NMB. It was in the Spirit on a Sunday. You see, here it is even more blasphemous because there is no more open and closed parenthesis. I was in the Spirit on a Sunday. Then, next, the Message Bible. It was Sunday, and I was in the Spirit praying. I heard a loud voice behind me, trumpet clear and piercing. Exemplified Bible. On the Lord's Day, probably a reference to the first day of the week, Sunday, when Christians meet for worship. Amplified Bible. I was in the Spirit in a special communication with the Holy Spirit, and that is the Lord's Day. And it says in the footnotes, I was in the Spirit, wrapped in His power on the Lord's Day. It says, or Spirit, the Greek wording is not decisive, so John could referring either to be on a special communion with the Holy Spirit or to be in trance-like state in his own spirit-like, that experienced by Peter at Joppa. The early church used this term to refer to Sunday, the day of Jesus' resurrection. Remember the statement in volume 4, page 230, that Christ and Satan will never be in partnership. It was allowed by God because God gave the sign. When that abomination, which is Sunday, will be set up in the holy ground, which is the Bible, brothers and sisters, the time is no longer far distant. Why is it that there are only 6 translations of the Bible saying Sunday is the Lord's Day? Because although it was allowed by God, but it is under control by God. Because the work of Satan is represented by 666. Let us read again that statement in track number 16 on page 19. It says, also it appears more than likely that this symbolical prophecy reflects the combined church-state effort of the two horned beast to clamp down on communism so as to save the world system of religion and set up a world government with the federated churches being its brains and the state its power. But the beast number being in 666, not in sevens. 777, biblical denoting completeness or all, shows absence of a part of the world from its system of worship. You see, brothers and sisters, what does it mean by 666? And to whom 666 belongs? Two-horned beast? Now what is the explanation here? More particularly to all the Bayesian advocates. You are the one who printed this reading material. What does it mean by 666? Indicating that there must be a country which is not a part of that system of worship outside United States of America. So 666, since it belongs to the United States of America, indicating that the image of the beast, brothers and sisters, that had been formed by the two-horned beast under the dictation of the devil, indicates that the entire United States of America is under control of the dragon. Denotes complete apostasy. Brothers and sisters, we are not saying that the people in the United States of America are evil. There are many righteous people in the United States of America. There are many living saints. We are only studying the prophecy. The same with the statement given by B.T. Hotep, that the significance that the wound is healed indicates that the Seventh-day Adventist Church is already a part of the scheme of the devil. But it is not saying that there will be no more souls to be saved in the Seventh-day Adventist Church. The same with this symbolization of the scarlet-colored beast. Now, I would like to go back again. Very simple analysis. Hold the four winds. When? At the commencement of the sealing of the 144,000. Track number 8, page 21. What is the four winds? Track number 822. The image of the beast activity. So the four winds is the image of the beast. What is the image of the beast? A scarlet colored beast. 2SR 113. One symbolic code number 4, page 7. Who will make the image of the beast? Great controversy 443. United States of America. How it is to be formed? It is to be formed when there will be no more divinely called movement in the United States of America. Why? Because the illustration of the scarlet-colored beast, which is the image of the beast, it is unharmed, not wounded. What is the scarlet-colored beast? The image of the beast. Who will form the image of the beast? United States of America. Why is it that it is to be formed? How? Because there is no more divinely called movement in the United States of America. How God illustrated to the seven heads, unharmed, not wounded. If there is a divinely called movement of the United States of America, if there is still a divinely called movement within the United States of America, God would not say that the seven heads are unharmed. Because as long as there is a divinely called movement, the head will always be wounded. Look at the little horn head during the Dark Ages in Europe. What happened? When God raised up a divinely called movement in Europe, the head had been wounded. What happened to that leopard-like beast? Because God raised up the Seventh-day Adventist Church and the Davidian organization. It was wounded. Why is it that the scarlet-colored beast had not been wounded? What is the scarlet-colored beast? The image of the beast. When it will be formed? It will be formed prior to the sealing of the 144,000. Because the divine command, hold the four winds. It is illogical to hold the four winds if there are no four winds. What is the symbolization of the four winds? The image of the beast. What is the significance holding the four winds? To hold the image of the beast activity. Not to blow, not to be implemented, but it was made up. Track number 3, 115. The image of the beast is fully made up at the commencement of the judgment of the living. The commencement of the judgment of the living is the sealing of the 144,000. It was fully made up, but in order for that it will not be implemented, God intervened. There is divine intervention. The four angels hold the four winds that it cannot be implemented, while the sealing of the 144,000 are not yet finished. But the spiritual side is that image of the beast, which is to be formed in the United States of America, will never be formed if God will continually raise up a divinely called movement in the United States of America. Both brought into the surface the reality that the last and the final movement, the 11th-hour movement, will never originate in the United States of America. The last divinely called movement. Because if God would raise up a divinely called movement in the United States of America, then God is contradicting His own words. He is the one who showed the vision to John the Revelator that the scarlet-colored beast is unharmed, not wounded. What is the scarlet-colored beast? The image of the beast. Who will form the image of the beast? United States of America. When it will be formed? Just prior to the sealing of the 144,000. Because the devil want to destroy the 144,000. The devil want to eliminate the 144,000. But God intervened. Hold the four winds. Prophecy must be fulfilled. Symbols do not lie, brothers and sisters. And the reason why the 144,000, brethren, scattered throughout the earth without any shepherd indicates that all of them are no longer under the banner with such worldly organizations. Organizations, brothers and sisters, by which the Spirit of God had been completely removed. That is the statement in 1SR. And what is the great apostasy, brothers and sisters? That is the commencement of the sealing of the 144,000. 1SR 222. Though such great apostasy and blasphemy has gripped the world, God church 144,000 in number scattered throughout the length and breadth of the earth without a shepherd. If you are among the 144,000, brothers and sisters, then you must be under this description that you are not under any organized movements. Because if you are under organized movements, then you have shepherd. But the vision of Sister White, as quoted by B.T. Hotton, is very plain. That at the time of the judgment of the living, the sealing of the 144,000, all of them are scattered throughout the whole earth without a shepherd. Why? Because they escape from all these churches by which under the dominion, jurisdiction of the dragon. And all of them, when Jesus Christ will visit the earth, one by one, they will be gathered. So, brothers and sisters, hoping that you will abide listening and viewing this program. And apology, brethren, if I have said something which is not appropriate, but God knows it. Deep down at the bottom of my heart, my only desire is to help God's people be prepared in our individual lives so that our names will never be blotted out this coming final Day of Atonement. And maybe someone will ask, how do you know that this is the final Day of Atonement, this coming March 27, 2021? In Bible calendar, October 10, 2022. The only thing that I could give with absolute answer in that question is that it is true through the Spirit of Christ. And I would like to read this reading. I think this is the last in 2SR. It says, 2SR 105. God's people, so maybe I would like to read in the upper portion. Say the prophet, cease ye from men, whose breath is in his nostrils, for wherein is he to be accounted of? Isaiah 2 verse 22. It is better to trust in the Lord than to put confidence in men. Psalms 118 verse 8. The prophet Micah looking forward to this time of carnal security. So the wholesale deception is carnal security. Says, trust ye not in a friend. Put ye not confidence in a guide. Micah 7 verse 5. God's people must learn to look to Him only, depending upon the plain thus saith the Lord. He may use the human instrument to communicate light, but it will shine on the never-erring Word of God. Such light will dispel sin and rebuke the sinner, exalt Christ, glorify God, and debase men. So I would like to emphasize this reading. It says that God may use the human instrument to communicate light, but it will shine on the never-erring Word of God. We are living in a time by which all the written records were already in existence. Both the Bible and the Golden Bowl. Brothers and sisters, although I respect the ideas of other people, more particularly to all the Bereans, but I'm only sharing what I do fully believe. The only thing for me, which is a part of the Golden Bowl, are the 7 inspired writings. Because the 7 tubes represent the entire ministry. 1 TG 14:22. Entire ministry. And it was enumerated by the Shepherd's Rod, this entire ministry. Writings of William Miller, Joshua Hibbs, and I forget the other one. And then Ellen G. White, Alonzo Jones, Wagoner, and Shepherd's Rod. 7 indicates completeness. But we abide the divine principle. Teach only in the light of the rod. Answerer number 5, page 56. Whatever message in the writings of Miller, Joshua Hibbs, and what's the other one? And then, have you been enumerated the number 7? Sister White, Alonzo Jones, and Wagoner, I need to teach their message in the light of the Shepherd's Rod. Answerer number 5, page 56. Although some Davidian believe that there are other writings besides the writings of the Shepherd's Rod publications, that is their own prerogative. We have individual freedom to believe. Some Davidian believe that writings of Ben Ruden and the wife of Ben Ruden and with all others, brothers and sisters, as I've said, we need to respect what they believe. But for me, I will just share what I do believe. And those people, every individual has a right to choose because that is the highest gift that had been bestowed by God unto us. So, to repeat again, brothers and sisters, I guaranteed to you that all information, why is it that we have been able to ascertain clearly that March 27, 2021, in Bible calendar, that is October 10, 2022, that is the last and the final Day of Atonement for blotting out of names. There will be no more Day of Atonement to follow in the holy place. Where we got that information, we got it in the inspired records. Brothers and sisters, at thus saith the Lord, barricaded by at thus saith the Lord. So thank you very much for listening and viewing this program. May the good Lord bless you and have a beautiful, wonderful evening.